There is a diversity explosion in America. Unparalleled, unprecedented, irreversible, seismic demographic shifts are changing the complexion of America. Before the middle of this century, 1 out of every 2 Americans will be a person of color or a person of color who speaks Spanish. 87 million strong, millennials, now 44% of color, for the first time in history, will be the most racially diverse generation in American history. Hello, I'm Sheila Thorne. A long time ago, somebody coined the phrase melting pot to describe America. That would mean that when each group comes here, they all harmoniously blend together and become one culture. But that's really not true. America is better described as a beautiful cultural mosaic, a patchwork quilt. Even some have called it a salad bowl, where each group comes here and tenaciously holds on to its tradition, its languages, its culture, and its heritage, while it makes up being a part of the whole. Unless you're a full-blooded Native American Indian, you, your parents, your grandparents, your great-grandparents, or your ancestors came here from another country. The United States has always been a country of immigrants. Maybe your ancestors came here on the Mayflower and landed at Plymouth Rock. Or perhaps your great-grandparents came through Ellis Island with 12 million other people at the turn of the century. Or like my ancestors, people of African descent who did not come here by choice, but came to America in slave ships, where almost 500,000 Africans were deposited in Virginia in 1619, over 400 years ago. Or maybe your great-grandparents just landed at JFK 20 or 30 years ago. Of the more than 200 countries in the world, every one of them has somebody living in America. Truth be told, the United States has never had a homogeneous culture or population, but for a long time, we pretended that it did, and we got away with it. Census 2010 was a wake-up call. 92% of the population growth in the last decade came from people of color. Over half of that number was from the Hispanic Latino community. Yes, the complexion of America is changing. It's getting darker, and it's never going back the way it was before. We have reached the tipping point. By the time today's teenagers hit their 30s, there will be no racial or ethnic majority population in America. If you are a healthcare professional, healthcare educator, the pressure is on for you to become culturally competent. Now's the time to look at your pharmaceutical executives, the leadership in your foundations and associations, your health educators, your marketers, your sales representatives, because becoming culturally competent is an imperative. Demographic shifts are intensifying the pressures of healthcare delivery organizations, and providers need new multicultural skills to enhance the clinical encounter. There's even more of a demand for increasing diversity in clinical research so that the products and devices that are being produced are safe and effective in everyone. We've got to find new ways of delivering culturally relevant health information to these populations who are suffering disproportionately from chronic disease, disabilities, and premature death. The alarming rates of infection and death from COVID-19 have glaringly illuminated racial disparities, ethnic health disparities, pervasive and persistent disparities, even among the middle class and insured. So the question is, where are you on the cultural competence continuum? Where is your team? Where is your not-for-profit healthcare association, coalition, or foundation? Where is your pharmaceutical company? This multicultural healthcare marketing train has left the station and is traveling across the country at top speed, in urban markets, in the suburbs, in rural America. Are you on board? Is multiculturalism woven in the fabric of your brand business plans? Is multiculturalism a strategic and integral part of your future plans for your not-for-profit organization? It's no longer enough just to put black and brown faces on your collateral materials and populate your website with ethnic faces. Are you ready to go beyond just translating your patient education materials in Spanish, Chinese, Korean, or even Haitian Creole? What about your boards of directors, your advisory boards, your key thought leaders, your patient advocacy groups, your principal investigators? Do they reflect America's racial diversity? Did you know that more than 24 states require continuing medical education credits and cultural competency as a condition for relicensure? I've been on this multicultural healthcare journey for almost 3 decades. I know a thing or two because I've done a thing or two. And there's one thing I know for sure. Competitive advantage will accrue to those organizations who are comfortable with multiculturalism and who take strategic, intentional action. Nothing is more powerful than an idea whose time has come. But maybe when you think about multicultural marketing, you're like my French friends who say, "J'écoute attentivement, mademoiselle. Je suis d'accord avec vous, et vous avez tout à fait raison, mais ne pas savoir sur quel pied à danser." My Latinx friends would say, "Claro que sí, Sheila. Estoy de acuerdo contigo, pero es muy importante hacerlo bien." Finally, my Italian friends would say, "Capisco, signorina. Brava. Certo. Sono d'accordo. Allora spero di vederti molto presto. Ci vediamo. Arrivederla." So join me on this multicultural healthcare marketing journey. It's the new frontier for growth in the pharmaceutical and healthcare industry. It's the moral and ethical thing to do when you're talking about people that are trying to reduce healthcare disparities. It makes good business sense if you're trying to increase market share and to broaden your reach in corporate and brand equity in new customers. It's the smart thing to do. It's the right thing to do. And it makes good business sense in an increasingly multicultural population in America. I look forward to hearing from you.